And this is, the camera is 8:16. If you add 2 minutes and 46 seconds, that's like 8:19 p.m. on the 17th. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
And I think the records we were looking at showed that the first contact with the network was about 8:35 p.m.
That's correct.
That about 20 minutes after this, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, if we could go to camera 14 on the same day, the 17th, at 8:37, please. So do you see the green bar at the bottom? It shows that in military time it's 20:36 and 45 seconds.
Yes, correct.
Or 8:36 p.m.
Yes, sir.
on June 17.
Yes, sir. June 17th or June 18th, sir?
Well, you'll see June 18 up on the camera, but I asked Mr. Reset to play June 17. And do you see the man appearing to be holding something up to his ear?
Yes.
As if it's a cell phone?
Yes, sir.
And that's shortly after the time when the phone 8696 connected with the network?
That is correct.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
Exhibit 158, you see that?
Yes, sir.
And that text message that Mr. Rankin asked you to take a look at there at 9:37 p.m., or I'm sorry, 9:35 p.m. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And that just indicates that he wants the person to whom he is texting to call Shay, correct?
Yes.
Doesn't say anything.
Well, I object to that.
Well, if you could just read it to us, please. Just
If I-
read that text message at 9:35 p.m., please.
Both parts or just the second part?
Both parts.
Get your ass up here. If I don't answer, call Shay at 860-502-2593.
Okay. And the next text message that is sent out from your phone 8969 here is at 10:23, right?
Yes, sir.
And that says what, please?
Hurry your ass up, nigga.
Now, I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as exhibit number 227. You see that?
Yes, sir.
And you see that indicating South Street Cafe, 54 South Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 401-454-5360. Telephone number, correct?
Yes, sir.
It indicates a date and time that the check was open there. You see that?
Yes, sir. June 16, 2013 at 9:37 p.m.
And in fact, Exhibit 158 continues to connect to the network for some period of time after Mr. Rankin showed you the voice records of, because if you look at the data records, it continues on for some period of time, correct? We looked at that earlier today.
Yes, sir.
The data actually shows the phone continues to be connected to the network until 11:12 p.m., correct? On June 16th.
I guess that would be 11:12 and then add 28 minutes. That would be the last time it was on the network. Add 28:52.
Right, so actually continues on for some period of time, correct?
Correct.
Now, showing you Exhibit 223. You see that?
Yes, sir.
See those two folks over there on the left-hand side of the photograph?
Yes.
Okay. The woman, just describe what she's wearing, please, and what she has with her.
Looks like a jean jacket and a black and white skirt.
And some bag slung over her shoulder, correct?
Yes, yep, that's correct.
And the man who's right next to her, describe what he's wearing, please.
Black pair of trousers and a white sweatshirt, perhaps.
Okay. Now, just going back to Exhibit 227, on the right-hand side indicates June 17th at 12:18 a.m. now in the morning, correct?
Correct.
And again, that same number, 401-454-5360, right?
Yes, sir.
So both before and after the phone's last data connection to the AT&T network, correct?
Correct.
Now, you haven't analyzed the cell tower records in this case, have you?
No, sir.
Right. But it's fair to say that you described that the cell towers, cell sites that were used are identified by LACs and cell sites, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that they then have a longitude, latitude associated with them, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to exhibit number 303. See that item 61, correct?
Yes.
And that's indicating a call between 4304 and 2593. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that has a LAC and a location where the 2593, your telephone, was actually connecting with the network. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. We go down to 1211, item 64, right?
Yes, sir?
You see the same exact thing, correct? A call between those two numbers and a lag on the cell site, correct?
Yes, correct.
Now, the last number on this cell site is different, is that true?
Yes.
Does that just indicate, I believe, as you said yesterday, a different sector of the same cell site?
That would be correct.
Okay. Then down here at 12:11 a.m., call between those same numbers, correct?
Yes, sir?
And again, same lack in cell site, correct?
I'm going to object to the questioning about cell site, Your Honor.
Well, identified there, they're identified there, is that correct?
They are identified there, yes.
Okay. Tell us, on the far right here of this record, what does that identify?
Well, I object is beyond the scope of the cross-examination, Your Honor.
You can go ahead.
The 13996, that is the location area code. That, again, is a geographical area that encompasses a handful of cells. The 4001 is, that's the site ID, site 4001. Then the final one at the end indicates that that call was placed in the alpha face of that site. The call was due north of where that site is located.
Now, down to the very next item, number 66, correct?
Yes, sir?
Again, same numbers involved, no cell site, correct?
No cell site, no, sir.
Down to item 69, that's a cell phone call to that 603 number that you previously identified, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And again, what's shown on the far right-hand side?
This time, this call, the user was southwest of the site at the time of the call.
Okay? Item number 73, do you see that?
Yes, sir?
And again, on the far right-hand side of the column, what appears there?
The same information. This time it's the same site, but back off of the alpha face. So the call was placed due north of the location of the site.
Now, this very next call, at 12:26, can you describe that call for us, please?
I'm going to object. It has to come to sidebar, Your Honor.
very next call at 12:26, you see that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And does that also indicate a lack in a cell site?
It does. It actually has a couple of different cell sites.
And what is that, without analyzing the locations of those things, what does that just tell you?
The call originated on one site and ended on another site.
Does that indicate that the phone is doing something during the course of that call?
Movement.
Okay. Now, as we continue down the record, 12:38 call, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And different lack in cell site, is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, you go down the record, June 17th now at 1:14 a.m. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you see that cell site located there?
Yes, sir.
Lack in cell site, correct?
Yes.
Now, we go back to our receipt number 227 here, the number for South Street Cafe, 401-454-5360. You see that, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And if we look here in the terminating number now, from 1:16 a.m. through 10:59 p.m. on June 17th, 2013. Do you see that number, 401-454-5360, anywhere in that exhibit number 303?
I do not.
Okay. Now, do you see these cell sites located over here on the record?
Yes.
Okay. And you'll recall when we looked at page 3, you identified these as the lack in the cell site location between midnight on June 17th down to 12:12, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the one just before at 11:18 a.m., you see that there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see those lacks or those cell sites here on this record 303 on now later in the day on June 17th from the time of 1:14 a.m. and this time 10:59 p.m.?
No, sir.
Now, Mr. Rankin showed you some video and asked you whether or not it appeared that somebody was essentially looking for something, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it's fair to say that on June 17th of 2013, to the extent that the person that you observed in the video was looking for something, you didn't know what it was that he was looking for, true?
True. No, sir.
Now, would you agree with me, sir, that, as you indicated, that IMEI that was used on June 16th and June 17th began communicating with the AT&T network on June 9th of 2013, correct?
That is correct.
And insofar as a phone holding its charge, does a new phone do better holding its charge, a new battery?
I suppose that's a fair statement, sure.
Okay, and would you agree with me that it also charges fast?
I don't know about the charging faster. I don't know if it would charge faster, to be honest with you, a new phone.
They don't run down, correct? As quickly?
They won't run down as quickly, correct.
Just have a moment, please. Thank you. You looked at the cell site tower information,
Yes, sir.
and the information that you had for the period of time on, I guess, Ms. Jenkins' phone, between, say, 12:15 a.m. and 1 a.m. on June 17, were those cell site informations consistent with traveling in an automobile from the South Street Cafe in Providence to Ronald C. Meyer Drive in North Attleboro?
I have to see it, to be honest with you. I've looked at so many call records. Between certain time periods, I couldn't tell you exactly.
Okay.
Sorry.
So let me just show you a page from Exhibit 303. This is for the phone number that ends in 2593. Do you see that?
Yes, correct.
All right. And I think that exhibit that Mr. Bomberg showed you from the South Street Cafe said they cashed out at about 12:15 a.m.
Yes, that's correct.
And so, could you just follow along as I pull down the page? Let me go back up. So we've got a call at, the last one is at 12:12 a.m. on this page. Do you see that?
Yes.
And then you've got a cell site over on the right column.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Do you know where that is?
Do I know where the cell site itself is? No.
Yeah, you don't?
No.
Can you tell which direction the car is moving if I show you some more? If you take a look over here at the next few, can you tell which way the car's moving?
Actually, yes, I can.
Is that moving from the direction of Providence towards the direction of Attleboro, North Attleboro?
It is. It's going north up 95.
Going up 95?
It's going north anyway, yes. I recognize a couple of the site IDs.
So that's consistent with traveling from South Street Cafe or Providence to North Attleboro.
Yes.
And you've been asked some questions about whether there were any calls back to the South Street Cafe after they left about 12:15 a.m., correct?
Yes.
And there weren't any calls.
That is correct.
And is there anything in this series of calls and the gap between 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. on the 16th and 8:25 or 8:30 p.m. on the 17th, is there anything inconsistent with that phone having slipped between the seats of a Audi SUV?
I couldn't say what happened to the phone, to be honest with you. It would just be completely conjecture on my behalf.
All right. So nothing inconsistent in the records you've seen with the phone having gone dead and being in the glove box or in the seat?
No, sir.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step down.
I'm going to call Anthony Jerome, please.
Your Honor, could we heard a sidebar before the case begin?
Face the clerk and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I swear.
Please be seated.
Have a seat, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm just going to ask you to keep your voice up so we can all hear you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Would you state your full name?
Anthony Jerome,
And can you spell your last name, please?
Jerome.
How old are you?
27 years old.
Okay. And where do you live?
Everett, Massachusetts.
How long have you lived in Everett, Massachusetts?
1 year.
Okay. Prior to that, did you live in the Boston area?
Yes.
And how long did you live there?
3 years.
Now, I'd like to, in June of 2013, were you living in the area, the vicinity of Boston?
Yes.
And back in June of 2013, were you working, sir?
Yes, sir.
Where were you working?
W Hotel.
And at that time, were you going to school?
Yes, sir.
And what type of school or coursework were you taking?
Mass Bay Community College, General Studies in Science.
And were you pursuing a particular type of degree?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
General Studies in Science.
Okay. And what is your occupational goal?
Oh, I'd like to become a cardiac nurse practitioner.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you continuing that pursuit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, at the time in June of 2013, you were working doing what?
I worked in the valet department at the W Hotel.
Okay. And just tell us about the W Hotel. How long has that hotel been around, if you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
And when you were working back in June of 2013, how long had you worked at the W Hotel?
Approximately 2 years.
Okay. And what was your title or role working at the hotel?
I worked as a valet.
And when you say you worked as a valet, just describe your duties working as a valet.
I welcomed the guests. I asked them how may I help them. And if they need to park their car, I make sure that that gets taken care of.
Okay. And what shift or hours were you working that job?
11 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Okay. And do you recall what days back in June of 2013, what days you were working, days of the week?
I don't remember.
Did you have a shift that changed, like week to week, or?
No. It was usually the same shift.
Okay. Do you recall working the weekends, Friday, Saturdays, Friday night into Saturday?
Yes, sir.
And directing your attention to June 14th, Friday, and into the 15th, Saturday of 2013. Do you recall working on that date, sir?
I guess.
Okay. When you say you guess, do you recall at some point at a previous time being questioned about a particular car that you valeted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And was that on the night of, or in the early morning hours of June 15th?
I mean, if that was the date, yes, because I don't remember.
Okay. And do you recall on a particular occasion valeting a black Suburban?
Yes.
And do you recall approximately what time of night or in the early morning hours that you valeted that vehicle?
I'd say any time between 11 and 1 a.m. 11 p.m. and 1 a.m.
Okay. And sometime between that time, do you recall an individual driving the black Suburban up to the W Hotel?
Yes.
And did you have a interaction with that person?
Yes.
And during the time of your interaction, did you notice whether there was anybody else inside the car?
Yes.
And do you recall how many other people you observed?
I'd say maybe 2 or 3.
Okay. And during the time that you had this interaction, at some point, did you actually valet the car?
Yes.
And so, just in terms of valeting this car, did you take possession of the car?
Of the keys, yes.
Okay. And when somebody valeted, when this individual valeted the car, would there be now some sort of cash payment to valet?
Yes.
And when that happened, were the keys turned over to you, if you remember?
Yes.
And what would you do after the transaction was made, so the car's been valeted and you have the keys? What would you do with, or what did you do with this black Suburban?
It stayed in front of the hotel.
Okay. Now, when you valeted cars, were there other areas sometimes that you would take a car to park it?
Yes, the garage.
And where is the garage in relation to the hotel?
Underneath the hotel.
I'm sorry, it is?
Underneath the hotel.
Okay.
It's like, yeah.
And where, just in terms of a street address, excuse me, the W Hotel, what street is it located on?
Stewart Street.
Okay. And are there intersecting city streets on either side?
Yes.
And what are the intersecting streets?
One is Tremont Street. Oh, both of them are Tremont Street, actually.
Okay. Are you familiar, well, let me ask you this. If you were standing out in front of the W Hotel, so on Stewart Street, looking at the hotel, which side would be Tremont Street?
Both of them.
Okay. Are you familiar with a street called Warrenton Street?
Yes.
And where is that if we were facing the W Hotel?
All right. Warrenton Street. If I'm facing the hotel?
Yes, sir.
If I'm facing the hotel on my right, yeah.
Warrenton would be on the right?
If I'm facing, if this is the hotel, I'm facing the hotel, not across the street. In front of the hotel, Warrenton will be on my right. If you understand?
Yeah, yes, sir. I think I do. I have one moment.
Oh.
So I'm just going to show you this document and ask you if you recognize the area it portrays.
Yes.
Okay, and what does this portray, sir?
I see. It looks like the area where I used to work.
Okay, that meaning the W Hotel?
Yes, the W Hotel.
Does it show the streets surrounding the hotel?
Yes.
Okay, and does it fairly and accurately represent that area?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, may I?
Yes, sir.
So if I was.
I'm sorry, I just have some questions to you.
Yeah. All right.
So does this fairly and accurately represent that area?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd offer this as the next.
No objection, Your Honor.
May we mark as the next exhibit?
Please stand.
Thank you. If I could publish this, Your Honor. So I'm just going to put this on the overhead. If you look right to your left there, sir, you'll be able to see.
Sure.
Okay, sir, I have now 310, Exhibit 310 on the overhead. Now, just a few moments ago, when I was showing you this, did you indicate you recognize this area relating to when you were employed at the W Hotel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and just, if you could you just point out, where's the W Hotel in this map?
What do you want me to point, sir?
If you just point to the screen.
The screen?
Yes, sir. Okay. And does that represent that area right there, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And earlier, you had indicated that the W is located on Stewart Street?
Yes, sir.
And is that shown right here, this street that's running across here?
Yes, sir.
Now, I had also asked you about the connecting streets. You indicated there was a Tremont Street?
I did.
And did you see that on this map, sir?
Yes, sir.
And is that reflected over in here?
Yes, sir.
And then I had asked you if you're familiar with Warrenton Street.
You did.
And are you familiar with Warrenton, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and is that shown on the map?
Yes, sir.
And can you just point that out, please?
Sure.
Is that showing, I'll just move this up a little bit. That's running right along here. Okay. Now, sir, you indicated that there was parking, if you were going to valet a car and park it in the garage, that you would drive under the building?
Uh-huh. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
And how would you do that? Like, how would you travel?
All right.
If you
I
point,
can't
I'll
really,
just follow.
all right, so this is a one-way, well, make a right on Tremont,
Okay, and you're
go around the hotel,
Okay.
and the gate to the garage is right over there, and that's where we park the cars.
I see.
Yeah.
So the access point would be on Warrenton Street?
Yes, sir.
Now, Are you familiar with any clubs in the area?
Yes, sir.
And where are the clubs located, or the ones that you're familiar with?
Oh, I mean,
You were just,
oh,
sir, if you just point your finger to the area.
will you be able to see, sir?
Yes, I will.
Okay. I mean, rumor,
And if you
club.
point to rumor, sir. You're in here?
Yes.
Are you familiar with a club called Venue?
Yes, sir.
Is that, where is that shown?
Right next to rumor.
Okay, so again, over in this area?
Yes, sir.
Now, on this, the time that you've indicated that there was the black Suburban that came, after you took possession of the keys, did you do something with the vehicle, park it somewhere?
It stayed. No, sir. I did not do anything with it. It stayed in front of the hotel.
Okay. Is there an area in the front of the hotel that you can use for some vehicles to valet or leave them there?
Yes, sir.
And your conversation with the individual who turned over the keys, did that person indicate how long they might be there?
I don't remember, sir.
Okay. And so after taking the keys, did you see where this individual or individuals went? What direction?
Yes, sir.
And what direction did they go? Or
Towards
him?
Warrenton Street.
Okay. And in terms of what I was just asking you about the diagram, is that towards or away from the club areas?
Towards or away. Can you repeat that, sir?
Sure. Is that, with regard to, say, rumor and venue, is that going towards that direction or in a different direction?
That's correct.
Okay.
Towards that direction.
Right. Now, at some point after you took the keys of this black Suburban, sometime later, did you see anybody come back towards that car?
Yes, sir.
And when a person, was it a person or persons who came back?
Would you repeat that, sir?
Sure. Sometime after you had taken the keys, did you see anybody that you had earlier seen in regard to the black Suburban?
Yes, sir.
And who did you, how many people did you see?
I don't really remember.
Okay. Do you recall at least one individual coming back towards the car?
Yes.
And did you have a conversation with that individual?
Yes.
And that individual, did you recognize them from when you had collected the keys earlier relating to the black Suburban?
Yes, sir.
And was it the same or the different person who had given you the keys?
Yes, sir. The same.
Okay. So when you recovered, excuse me, I'm sorry, when you saw this person now for the second time, and you had a conversation with him, just yes or no?
Yes.
Did that person ask to do something with regard to the car?
Did that...
Let me
you
ask you this
please?
way. Sure. What did that person say to you?
That person asked for the keys.
Okay. And did they say anything else about why they wanted the keys?
I don't remember.
Do you recall, sir, at some point being called and asked questions about matters that I'm questioning you about?
I'm sorry?
Do you recall at some point being called to the grand jury back in the summer of 2013 and asked similar questions to what I'm asking you?
I do.
Sir, I'm just going to show you something. I'm just going to ask you, though, to read it to yourself. Beginning at page 131 at line 4. If you would just read that from 4 down to line 16.
Do I read it out loud?
No, to yourself, sir.
Oh.
Okay. You've been able to read that? And does that refresh your memory, sir?
Yes.
Sir, do you recall what this person said to you?
May I read that?
Sure.
May I read it out loud just because?
Read it to yourself.
Yes, if you
Oh,
could read that to
okay.
yourself again.
Okay.
Does that refresh your memory?
Yes, sir.
So can you tell us what this individual said to you?
He asked me to unlock the doors, and I did.
And did he indicate what he wanted to have you unlock the doors for?
I don't remember.
Okay. So having just read this, is it your testimony you don't remember what was said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did we have an occasion to meet prior to you appearing here today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did we review your prior testimony before the grand jury?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recall indicating that there was an item that he had asked to recover from the car?
Objection.
Sir, is there something that would interfere with your present memory?
I mean, I'm just a bit nervous and trying to read this and remember what I said, and a few months later, I just want to say what actually happened with what I remember.
Okay.
So
So go ahead and tell us then what you remember.
Well, why don't you re-ask the question, because there's no really question at the moment. But we're just asking you, to the extent you have a recollection, if you have a recollection, to indicate.
Okay, well, if I remember,
Why don't you ask the question?
Do you recall what this individual asked to recover from the car?
if I remember correctly, it was a cell phone.
Okay. And as a result of this person asking to recover a cell phone, did you then do something, go recover the keys to unlock the door?
Yes, sir. I went inside. Of course, if I remember correctly, yes, I did.
And while you were doing that, do you know an individual by the name of Samson Michael?
Yes, sir.
And who is Samson Michael? Did he work with you, sir?
Yes, sir.
And what was his title at that time?
Account manager for the valet department.
Okay. And was he working at that time?
Yes, sir.
And did he approach you, just yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And did he have a conversation with you?
Yes, sir.
And as a result, or after that conversation, how long would you say you had a conversation with him?
Maybe a minute.
Okay. And as a result of that, did you then go and get the keys? Let me just ask you this. What did you do after the minute conversation with Sampson Michael?
Usually,
Well, it's, what do you recall on this, at this time?
ma'am,
Recall.
I don't remember it. I don't remember.
If you don't remember, then you should indicate you don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you recall at some point unlocking the car?
Yes.
How were you able to do that, sir? Or how did you do that?
With the keys.
Okay,
With
now the
car
keys, what kind of keys were they? Did you have to do it manually or could you do it remote?
No, it was remote.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you, how long did you, so you unlocked the car, is that right?
Yes, sir, I did.
And how long did you see this individual at the black Suburban?
How long did I see him where, sir?
In the vicinity or at the
Oh.
car?
Maybe 5 minutes.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. And then after that 5 minutes, did you see that individual move away from the black Suburban?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any conversation with him?
Oh, yes, I did.
And what did you, what, go ahead.
I asked him how much longer is this going to take.
Okay. Did he indicate?
I don't remember.
Okay. And did you have any, after that, do you recall how long it took beyond that?
I don't remember.
Okay. Now, at some point, do you recall this individual moving away from the black Suburban?
Yes, sir.
Did you have a conversation with him?
I don't remember.
Okay. And after you saw this individual move away, did you then do anything with the keys?
Yes, sir.
What did you do?
I might have put them in a box inside.
Okay. Do you know whether you locked the car before you would?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And after that, did you see what direction this individual went in?
Yes, sir.
And what direction was that?
Towards Warrington Street.
Okay. Now, how long after this individual then went back towards Warrington Street before, or did you see then something, sometime later, somebody approached the car again?
No.
Okay, well, did somebody come and recover the car?
Yes.
Okay, and how long after, when you had opened up the car and then locked it up, did you see somebody come to recover the car?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay. Do you know if it was a long time after that or a shorter time or?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you recall somebody coming to recover the car?
Yes, sir.
And when they came to recover the car, did you notice anybody else with that individual?
No, sir, I don't remember.
Okay. And do you recall whether the Your Honor, may I approach again?
You may.
Is this water? Please. Oh, it's this one? Okay.
There's no question pending at this time.
Sir, is your memory exhausted as to whether you saw somebody else and how many people you saw?
Okay. You asked me how many people I saw approach the car. That I don't remember. Now, I don't remember.
And is there something that would refresh your memory?
Maybe.
All right, if I might.
You may.
I'm just going to, again, ask you to read this to yourself. This is page 136, lines, beginning at the top, line 1, down to line 20, say. Does that refresh your memory, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And sir, so at some later time, did you see some people come back towards the car, the black Suburban?
Yes, sir.
And how many people did you see?
According to this,
No,
Okay.
it's just if after reading that, do you have a recollection?
I do.
Okay.
I'd say at least 2 people that were with him.
Okay,
With the driver or whoever that had asked me for the keys.
okay. So how many in total, sir?
Not less than. Oh, how many people were with the individual that asked me for the keys?
Yes, sir.
Not more than 3, not less than 2.
Okay. And at some point, do you recall when these, the individual who had asked you for the keys, and whether it was 2 or 3 other people, did you see anybody else in the vicinity of the black Suburban?
Yes, sir.
And who else did you see?
Is that when the car was leaving?
Well, at some point, did you see people as the car was leaving?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who did you see?
2 other people,
Okay, and the other people, were they male or female?
female.
And just tell us, where did you first see them?
On the pavement, the sidewalk.
Okay, and what did you see them doing on the pavement?
They were just out and about. Seems that way, at least.
Okay, and did you then see some interaction as these women were on the pavement?
Yes, sir.
And just tell us about that.
I noticed they just started talking, and then I'd say after like a minute, the girls got in the car.
Okay, and then did you see what happened to the black Suburban?
It left.
Okay. Did you see it after it left?
Well, it was driving away. I saw it.
Okay,
But-
now, you didn't see it at any later time that
Oh,
that evening?
not that I can remember. I don't think so. You're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brewer.
Good afternoon, sir.
I have no questions for you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
You may sit down.
Okay.
Right this way, sir.
Your Honor, I would call Sampson Michael, please.
Please face the clerk and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Have a seat.
Yeah, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir. Would you state your full name, please?
Samson Michael,
And could you spell your last name?
Michael,
And where are you from, sir?
Ethiopia,
How long have you been in America?
since 1987.
And when you first began living in America, where were you living?
Los Angeles.
And sometime, did you live there for some number of years?
Yes,
And after that time, did you move to the East Coast?
yes, I did in 2003.
Okay. And have you settled in Massachusetts?
Yes,
Now, since, are you working now, sir?
yes.
Where do you work?
I work for Ultimate Parking,
Okay. And how long have you worked for Ultimate Parking?
about 11 years.
Now, Ultimate Parking, if you just describe what type of business that is.
We provide valet parking service for hotels, restaurants.
Okay. And have you been assigned through Ultimate Parking at different locations in or around the city of Boston.
Yes.
Have you ever worked at a location known as the W Hotel?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And how long did you work there?
Approximately 2 years.
Okay. And what years did you work there, sir?
From July 2011 till June 2013.
And what was your position during that time that you were working at the W Hotel?
I was the account manager.
Okay. And just describe what duties did you have as the account manager?
I was responsible for the day-to-day operation.
Okay. And what type of things would the day-to-day operation, what kinds of things would you handle?
Everything from scheduling, parking operation for residents, hotel guests, clerical work, and such.
Did you also supervise certain employees?
Yeah, I have maybe 12 to 15 employees under me.
Okay. And did that, sir, include the valet staff?
Right, valets and a couple of managers.
Okay. Now, there was an individual who just left the courtroom. Did you see that man?
That was Anthony Jerome.
Okay. Did he work for you or work under your supervision while you were working at the W Hotel?
Yes, he did.
Now, directing your attention back to June 14th into the 15th of 2013, do you recall that being a Friday into a Saturday?
Yes, it was.
And do you recall working on that date?
I was working that night.
And what shift did you typically work?
On Fridays and Saturdays, I usually work up. I come in at 5 until about 2 or 3 a.m.
Okay. And how would you be, where would you be working during the course of that shift?
I'm typically in front of the hotel or in my office in the general area of the entrance of the hotel.
Okay. Now, on the evening, strike that, sometime in the early morning hours of June 15th, so Saturday morning, between 1 and, say, approximately 1:30 in the morning, did you notice a black Suburban in front of the W Hotel?
Yes, I did.
And did you, were you familiar with certain spots that would be used for short-term valeting out in front of the hotel?
Yeah, we have about 4 or 5 spots in front of the hotel, parking spaces.
Okay. And was there a bigger area for valet parking that you also would use as part of the hotel?
Correct. We had a garage under the hotel.
Okay. And the access point to get to the garage was where, sir?
On Warrenton Street.
Okay. And the W Hotel is located on what street in the city of Boston?
On Stewart, between Tremont and Warrenton.
Okay. And just in terms of the direction of travel, is that a one-way or two-way street?
Stewart is a two-way street, yes.
Now, if a person was going to valet in front of the W Hotel, what direction would they come in from?
They would come east on Stewart Street.
So I'm just putting what's been marked 310 on the overhead. And I'm just going to ask you, sir, first of all, to acquaint yourself with this map. Do you recognize what's contained here on the map?
Yes, those are streets around the hotel.
Okay. When you say those are the streets around the hotel, do you see Stewart Street in this area, sir?
Yes.
Does that show, as you described, direction two-way travel?
Right.
Now, with regard, when you were talking about coming in the direction to, if you were going to valet in front of the W, what direction, from where would you approach?
You'd approach from Warrenton towards Tremont.
Okay, and Warrenton, let me just slide this up. Do you see Warrenton here?
Right.
So you're describing a direction of travel from Warrenton towards Tremont?
Right.
And as you described, there were 4 or 5 locations or spots for valet in front of the hotel.
Yeah, what we call valet zone.
Okay, a valet zone. Now, you're familiar with any clubs in the area?
Yeah, there are a number of clubs on both Stewart and Warrenton Street.
Okay, and Stewart, obviously running along here, and Warrenton on this side.
I'm sorry, on Tremont and Warrenton Street.
I beg your pardon, so Tremont over on this side. And are you familiar with the club called Rumor?
Yes, I am.
And what about Venue?
Yes,
And what streets are they located on?
on Warrenton.
Okay. Now, how close to the hotel are the clubs Rumor or Venue?
It's literally across the street from the garage entrance.
Okay. And if you could, sir, if you wouldn't mind just pointing to the general area of the Rumor Club, if you can.
Right over here?
Sir, you're indicating right over here?
Right.
Okay. And you've described that there's an entrance to your garage across the street,
Right.
and would that then be
Yeah.
the corresponding side over here?
Yeah, it's about there.
Okay. And now, on this, in the morning, Saturday morning, June 2013, at approximately 1:30 in the morning, or let me ask you this, sometime after 1:30 in the morning, your attention drawn to something relating to out front of the W Hotel?
Yes, a gentleman approached Anthony Jerome,
Okay.
spoke to him briefly, and walked away to his vehicle, to the vehicle that was parked in front of the hotel, the
Okay.
black SUV.
Now, when you say, so where was Anthony Jerome at that time?
I think he was standing somewhere to the left of me in front of the hotel.
And would that be a position where he would work to valet cars?
Yeah,
And did you see an individual approach him?
correct.
And could you see if they were did they have a conversation?
Some conversation, yes.
Okay. You couldn't hear what was said?
No.
Now, after you saw that, do you know how long they spoke?
A few seconds.
And after that, did you see them separate?
Yes.
And did you see where Anthony Jerome went?
I think he went inside the hotel.
Okay. And when inside the hotel, is there a station of some sort inside the hotel?
Our office is inside the hotel.
And at that office, are there items that are kept relating to the valet?
Vehicle keys, tickets, and such sort.
So after you saw him heading in that direction towards the office, did you see where this other individual went?
Towards the vehicle.
Okay. And when you say towards the vehicle, what vehicle was this other individual going towards?
The black SUV parked at the front of the hotel.
And as a result of you seeing that interaction between these two, did you have just yes or no, did you have a conversation with Anthony Jerome?
I did.
And how long a conversation was that?
Just a few seconds.
And as a result of that few-second conversation, did you then do something?
Yes, I walked towards the black SUV.
Now, do you know during this time whether Anthony Jerome did something with the keys to allow access to the vehicle?
Yeah, he may have unlocked the door so the person could have access to the vehicle.
And when you say, and did you see this person actually make access to the black Suburban?
Yes.
Okay, and on where was the person accessing the black Suburban?
The driver door.
And when the person was accessing the driver's door of the black Suburban, did you go somewhere?
I walked towards the vehicle on the passenger side.
And when you walked on the passenger side, were you in between, where's the building in relation to where the black Suburban is?
It's perpendicular.
Okay. So,
I was between the vehicle and the hotel on the sidewalk.
and when you went alongside, did you take a position somewhere along that black Suburban?
Yes, I had a view through the passenger side window,
And when you say you had a view through the passenger side window, where were you standing?
about 10 feet, 10 feet away from the vehicle.
And when you had this view through the black Suburban, could you see anything on the other side of the black Suburban?
So I just noticed a gentleman with his shirt up to his chest and what looks to be a gun on his waistband.
And when you say a gentleman with his shirt up, how was the shirt up?
Lifted up to his chest.
Okay, and was he holding the shirt in that position?
Correct.
And where you said you saw what appeared to be a gun in the waistband, just describe what you saw.
It's a black object, what looks like a gun. And I can see about half of it, mostly the handle.
Okay. And just describe the handle of the gun and the half of the gun that you saw. Let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the difference between a revolver and a semi-automatic?
Yeah.
Okay. Can, in terms of what you saw, can you describe that further, whether it appeared to be similar or dissimilar to either a revolver or a semi-automatic?
Well, semi-automatic would have, the handle is more square shape, and it would have a magazine. You put the bullet on the, from the handle. Whereas, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Whereas a revolver has cylinders where you put bullets in it.
Okay. And with regard to the gun that you saw, just how did that appear to you?
I'm sorry.
Sure, just describe what you saw of this, the handle of the gun.
And it was a black metal-looking object, and the handle, which looked like a square, and I can.
So did it appear like a revolver or like a
No,
semi-automatic?
it looked like semi-automatic. Okay.
How long were you able to make observations through the passenger window of this individual on the other side of the car?
It was brief, maybe three seconds or so.
Okay. And when you were making observations, do you know whether this person saw you?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Where was the person's attention directed?
Just looking down.
And what was this individual doing as he was looking down?
Let me first give some instructions. The defendant is not charged with committing any crime, including unlawful possession of a firearm, other than the charges contained in the indictments. Testimony by this witness about any object that may have been seen in the presence of the defendant cannot be considered by you as proof that the defendant has a propensity to commit any of the crimes charged or as evidence of bad character. If you credit evidence by the witness about an object, and if you further find that the person with the object was the defendant, if the Commonwealth so proves, you may then, and only then, consider such evidence to the extent you may find it relevant solely on the issue of whether the defendant had access to the means to commit the murder charged or to arm another with whom he was allegedly aiding and abetting with the means to commit the murder charged. You may not consider this evidence for any other purpose whatsoever. Specifically, you cannot use it to conclude that if the witness saw a firearm in the defendant's possession, he must have committed the crimes with which he is charged.
Thank you, Ron. Sir, you indicated this individual was holding the shirt up. Can you just describe how that individual was dressed?
The gray hooded shirt, as a sweatshirt, jeans, and a red baseball hat with a white lettering on it.
And after you saw the shirt up and what you've described as the handle of a gun in the waistband, what did you see this individual do?
He closed the door of the vehicle and walked back towards the Warrenton Street.
And as a result of making the observations you've described, did you do something?
Yes, I reported it to the hotel's director of security, Jeff Keane.
And when you say you reported, how did you report it?
I got his attention, may have been on a two-way radio. He came to where I was, to the front of the hotel.
And did you see where this individual went after moving away from the car?
Towards Warrenton Street.
And the individual that you've described that you saw alongside the car with the gun in the waistband, do you see that person in court today?
But yes, he is.
Okay, could you just point him out, please, and describe what he's wearing?
He's wearing a black suit with a black shirt and tie.
Your Honor, if the record can reflect identification of the defendant. Now, how long after you communicated or made a report to Jeff Keane did you see Jeff Keane?
Was right away, within a minute maybe.
And during that time, did you see where the defendant had gone?
I noticed that he walked over to Warrenton Street.
And at some point, did you then meet with Jeff Keane after the minute or so?
Yes, Jeff Keane came to the front door, and I told him what I
Well, you
thought.
haven't been asked what you said to him.
I'm sorry.
Just yes or no, did you have a conversation
Yes.
with him? And as a result of that, did you start moving in a direction?
Yes,
Where did you go?
towards Warrenton Street.
And did anyone accompany you when you moved towards Warrenton Street?
Yes, Jeff Keane was. Sorry.
And just when you, how far down did you go from the hotel to get to Warrenton Street? What distance is it where you met him and traveled?
I would
to get-
say about 20, 25 feet maybe.
And when you get over to that area, did you see the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And where did you see him?
Just around the corner to on Warrenton Street, near the garage door, just before the garage door.
Okay. And what did you see him doing?
He was standing. He was standing there with there was some people around him.
And did you, at that time, seeing him at that location, did you have a further conversation, just yes or no, with Jeff Keane?
Yes.
And as a result of that, did you see Jeff Keane do something?
No.
Did you see him remain in that location for some period of time?
Yes.
And how about yourself? Did you remain there for some period of time?
Well, I stayed there with him for a while.
Okay. And how long did you remain there?
Maybe 5, 10 minutes.
Okay. And then after that time, what did you do?
I went back to the front of the hotel.
Okay. And what about Jeff Keane?
Jeff Keane may have stayed back.
Now, after that, when you went back to the hotel, did you go, at some point, did you resume your duties?
Yes, I did.
And later on, did you make any observations about the black Suburban?
Yes.
And when is the next time you saw it or didn't see it, or made observations of it?
Around 2 o'clock, I would say, 2 a.m.
And around 2 o'clock, just tell us, had anything changed with regard to the black Suburban?
The vehicle was gone.
Now, when you had come back after making the observations that you've described of the defendant at the corner of Warrenton, when you came back, did you have any further conversation with anybody else? Just yes or no?
Yes.
And who else did you speak with?
Anthony Jerome, Rob Goodrow, and Joshua Sanders.
Okay, and who were those three individuals?
Those were the 3 Valley staff working that night.
If I could have a moment, Your Honor, please. No further questions. questions. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Now, during your direct examination, Mr. McCauley asked you where the individual with the gun in his waistband went. Do you remember that question?
Yes.
And you said towards Warrington Street.
Yes.
But isn't it true, Mr. Michael, you have consistently said you only thought you saw a gun in his waistband. Isn't that right?
I say I saw what I think is a gun. Yeah.
What you think is a gun.
What looks like a
No,
gun.
just, you have consistently stated you thought you saw a gun. Haven't you, Mr. Michael?
Yes.
And indeed, that's what you told Mr. Keene that night. I think I saw a gun. Isn't that right?
I did say that, yes.
And that's what you told the grand jury. I think I saw a gun.
Yes.
And that's what you told the state police. You at first told them you saw a black object. Isn't that right? Trooper Collins, when he came to interview you, do you remember that?
Yeah, I went to a state police too. You have to be in.
And then you said, I think it might have been a gun.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Michael, you're the valet manager for the Ultimate Parking, correct?
Correct.
And as the valet manager, you're not a security officer, are you?
No, I'm not.
You don't work for Mr. Keene and his group. You're not part of the Mr. Keene's security staff.
No, I'm not.
You're the valet manager, and you supervise 2 to 3 valets a night or so, maybe 4 valets a night in June 2013 at the W Hotel.
Correct.
And on the night that we have been discussing, you mentioned that your attention was drawn to a black Suburban that was parked in front of the W Hotel, correct?
Correct.
And you, as a result, understood that there was a person accessing the vehicle. Isn't that right?
Right.
And you identified that person as our client, Mr. Hernandez, correct?
Correct.
And at the time, you knew that was Mr. Hernandez's car, that he had valeted there, didn't you?
I don't know if it's his car. I don't know who Mr. Hernandez is.
Well, he had interacted with Mr. Jerome, isn't that what you stated?
Oh, he did? Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Jerome was the valet, wasn't he?
Correct.
And so you knew that Mr. Hernandez was the driver of the car, regardless of who owns it.
Yeah, I assume he's here. Yes.
But you decided to watch him.
Yes.
And did you decide to watch him because of how he was dressed?
No.
And when you decided to watch him, you watched him from the sidewalk. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And that sidewalk, just to sort of describe that, that sidewalk runs along Stewart Street. Mr. McCauley pointed out Stewart Street on the map to you, right?
Correct. Yeah.
There's a sidewalk in front of the hotel. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And you were on the sidewalk, and the black Chevy Suburban was parked on the street, on Stewart Street, correct?
Yes.
So you were on the opposite side of the driver's side, weren't you?
Yes.
And it's around 1:30 in the morning, 1:45 in the morning, is that right?
Yes.
Now, where the car was parked, that area is pretty dark, isn't it?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you moved down the sidewalk, and you were over near your building wall, weren't you?
It's somewhere between the vehicle and the wall, the glass wall.
Well, sir, in an interview with State Police Trooper Joseph Collins that was audio recorded, do you recall telling Trooper Collins that you were right next to our building?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then do you recall also telling him, I'm walking against the building to see?
I'm sure I said that.
Okay. Now, that sidewalk in front of the W Hotel, that's a pretty large sidewalk, isn't it?
Yes.
It's wide. It's not your average sidewalk. It's
No, correct.
wide.
Correct.
And indeed, the sidewalk is comprised of some concrete or cement panels that make up the sidewalk. Do you recall that, sir?
Maybe.
And, I mean, you've spent a fair amount of time on that sidewalk, haven't you?
I have.
And those panels are about 3 or 4 feet in width, aren't they?
I didn't measure them, but
No, I'm just asking for an estimate, sir. Absolutely
Okay.
not asking for a measurement.
that's
Just
fine.
based on your experience and your observation of working on that area, would you say those panels are about 3 or 4 feet wide?
It's possible, yes.
And there's 4 panels between the building and the curb. Do you remember that?
It's possible.
So let's take the lower estimate. Let's say they're 3 feet wide and 4 panels. That would be 12 feet.
Correct.
And do you know, sir, how wide a Chevy Suburban is?
I don't know the size, I'm sorry.
Well, if for purposes of discussion today, if I told you that a Chevy Suburban is 6'7" wide, would you say, based on your observations of Chevy Suburbans, that that's a fair estimate?
Yes.
And you've seen those cars before because they're used
Yeah.
a lot for livery service or chauffeur service and things, isn't that right?
Correct.
So the width of the sidewalk, if it's 4 panels, is 12 feet, and the width of you were on the opposite side, so the width of the Suburban is 6'7", we'll say. That's over 18 feet, isn't it, between the beginning of the building and the opposite side of a Suburban that would be parked on the curb.
Correct.
So when you made your observations, sir, could you tell me, was that a busy time of night? Friday night when the clubs are about to close? Is that a busy time in your neighborhood?
No, I don't think so.
It's
At 1:30 in the morning?
yeah, 1:30, 1:45. The clubs are about to close at 2. I'm just asking. We pointed out the clubs, and
Yeah.
Mr. McCauley had you go through, and I'm just asking if in front of the W Hotel, if that's a
There's
busy place.
There's high traffic when the hotel, when the club's let out.
Okay. So there's high traffic when the club's let out. And when you were making your observations, you were looking through the vehicle and you were looking through glass, correct?
Correct.
Do you remember if there was any glare on the glass, sir?
No.
At 1:30 or 1:45 in the morning?
Glare on the glass on the vehicle.
On the
glass.
passenger side, when you looked through, I believe your testimony was you looked through the passenger window, isn't that
Right.
right? Do you remember if there was any glare on the glass?
I don't believe there was.
It had a crystal clear view.
I had a clear view.
And do you remember any people walking by on the sidewalk at that hour of the day?
No, I do not.
And from this position, from that distance, you made an observation of the driver of the vehicle tucking a black object into a waistband. Is that right?
Correct.
And today you testified that you think that was the handle of a gun. Isn't that right?
Right.
And you saw this for 3 seconds. You testified today. Isn't that right?
About that, yes. I said So about 3 seconds.
3 seconds. Now, do you remember testifying in the grand jury in this case?
Yes.
And before you testified in the grand jury, you met with the prosecutor, Mr. McCauley. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And you met with a state police trooper named Benson.
Yes, I did.
And prior to you going into the grand jury, they arranged a demonstration, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
And they had the state trooper stand up and take his service firearm and tuck it in his belt, didn't they?
Correct.
And we talked about where it was positioned and what it looked like. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And then you went into the grand jury and you testified that, you know, you had seen the handle of a gun and how it was positioned, didn't you?
I testified to what I saw
Yeah. And
on the date in question.
but you had just seen that demonstrated for you by Mr. McCauley and Trooper Benson immediately prior to your testimony, hadn't
Yes,
you, sir?
they did show me that, yes.
Had anyone ever demonstrated what a gun looked like to you before on that subject?
No.
And when they did that, that wasn't at 1:30 in the morning, was it?
No, it wasn't.
And it wasn't on a busy street in Boston just before the clubs let out, was it?
No, it was not.
And it wasn't dark,
No.
and you weren't standing over 18 feet away when you were observing this, were you?
No.
And you weren't looking through the glass of a vehicle when you observed it, were you?
No.
Now, you mentioned that you reported your observation that you made in those approximately 3 seconds to Jeffrey Keene, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And Mr. Keene, you know Mr. Keene, don't you?
Yes, I do.
You and Mr. Keene have worked together for many years.
Yes.
In fact, Mr. Keene recommended your position at the W Hotel, didn't he?
Yes.
And you told Mr. Keene about your observation, and Mr. Keene, the director of security, looked into the matter, didn't he? He followed up on your report, didn't he?
Right.
And you were with him when he did that.
What do you say did that?
You were with
did
him
what?
when he followed up on what you told him. You described. You went over and looked and saw Mr. Hernandez. Is that right?
I identified Mr. Hernandez to him.
Yes. And then Mr. Keene assumed his duties as director of security, didn't he?
Okay.
And it's fair to say that after you informed Mr. Keene and after Mr. Keene made his observations, nothing was done. Isn't that?
You may answer with respect to you.
Can you
You
repeat
did
the
anything
question,
further.
please?
After you made your observations, reported them to Mr. Keene, accompanied him to the street corner, and Mr. Keene made his observations, nothing was done. Isn't that right?
No, nothing was done.
And you believe, do you not, sir, that Mr. Keene probably doubted you, don't you?
Objection sustained.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Did you know Aaron Hernandez that night?
No, I did not.
Okay. So did you know whether he, are you a football fan?
No.
Are you a soccer fan?
That's the sport I know most of. That's the sport I grew up on.
Did you report what you saw that night?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Did you report what you saw that night?
I didn't report it.
And in terms of what you saw, you reported what you saw, believing by your own eyes that it was a gun in the waistband of the defendant's pants. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And did you choose to be involved in this case?
No.
Are you getting anything out of being involved in this case?
No.
Your Honor, objection is beyond the scope of cross-examination.
Well, who made the report to the police?
Jeff Keane.
Objection.
Well, that
Move to
motion
strike.
is sustaining, motion to strike is allowed. You specifically objected to a question as to what someone else did. What's sustained an objection? Allowed the witness to testify as to his own, what he himself saw or observed.
I'd like the answer stricken, Your Honor.
The answer is stricken.
Were you asked about what follow-up happened? What happened by
And-
Mr. Fee?
And you may testify as to what you did or what you actually saw someone else do. Not what you may have been told or not told.
Did you make a report, sir?
I
Other than to Jeff Keane, you reported to your director of security. Did you make any other report of this matter to anybody?
To my staff.
Okay. Now, after that night, did somebody then contact you from the police, or the state police, or some other police department?
State police did contact me.
Okay. And did you, was it you initiating that contact with the police?
No, I did not.
Do you know, okay. Do you know what a TV clicker is?
A remote control?
A remote control.
Objection.
Do you know what a
Yes,
remote?
I do.
Okay. Do you have one?
Yes, sir.
Did you see a remote control in the waistband of the defendant's pants that night?
No.
And nothing else, Your Honor.
Nothing, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Thank you.
Who approaches him?
We're going to suspend at this point for the day. Please keep your mind suspended. Please continue to avoid anything about this case or Mr. Hernandez that may appear in a newspaper or television or any other form of media or social media. Please continue to avoid speaking or emailing, texting, or in any other fashion communicating in any way with anyone, including each other, about the case or Mr. Hernandez. If anyone starts talking to you about Mr. Hernandez, this case, or your jury service, please end the communication immediately. Please do not do any research about this case, Mr. Hernandez, or anything you think may be relevant to the case. And tomorrow we will be stopping at 1 o'clock.
He. All persons having anything further to do before the Honorable, the Justice E. Susan Gosh of the Superior Court now sitting at Fall River within and for the Commonwealth, depart and give your attendance here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., to which time and place the sitting of this court is now adjourned. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Court is adjourned.
With respect to the enhanced, I guess, photographs that you wish to use with the next witness, in order for the court to make any 901 ruling, I'll need to hear from whatever witness you have on authentication, on what was done to create the enhanced photograph, and whether it's a fair and accurate representation.
Well, I think as I understand it, if I may, Your Honor, is that there's no real issue as to the video itself, and so that the question had to do with the still photographs. I'm sorry, but just as it applies to Mr. Aspinwall, the still photographs that were taken from the video. Is that correct? That was the issue, as I understood it. And I guess what I'm going to suggest to the court is this is.
I thought there was an indication that in addition to a still photograph taken from a video, that still photograph was digitally enhanced in some fashion, and that there was an issue as to whether photographs were going to be used where pixels had been added.
I think that that's in the blowing up, as I understand it, Your Honor, and because what we can do is, and what I would suggest to the court that will sort of, at least as to Mr. Aspinwall, we can avoid dealing with the whole issue, is to print out the photos in the native format, the same pixel ratio.
So you're not changing the pixel ratio?
So we're not doing anything to it, and we have the same stills essentially produced in that same aspect ratio.
Okay, so to the extent the defense expert had said you had to keep, or it was better to keep the same pixel ratio and not add pixels, you're not proposing a enhance.
Exactly. I think it ends up, in order to just avoid sort of going back and forth about the issue and whether that's the case, we can just produce it in this.
So if you could just
limited,
show it to Mr. Rankin and see whether there's any objection.
You see what I'm saying?
I mean, this is a lot different from...
Well, you presumably in response to your objection to not do something that's been digitally enhanced with additional pixels.
Well, I don't know how, I mean, I see a picture. I don't know how it was created.
Why don't we have who's ever created it who would be testify, so we can just hear whether there's any issue with authenticity.
Can I just, by offer of proof, Your Honor, suggest that Mr. Reset just takes the native format and he produces it in the exact same aspect ratio, the same numbers of pixels that appear in the same, that appear coming from the exhibit. That's from the DVR.
Maybe what we should
From the DVR?
Right, straight out of the DVR.
Maybe what we should do is recess at this point, let Mr. Bomberg, Mr. Reset, and I look at what Mr. Reset has done.
That's fine, and I'm here till, you know, if for the next 15, 20, 25 minutes, you know, I can come back out on if there's any objection. But it sounds like they're not either using it from a digital video other than the original, and that they haven't added the pixels that had been objected to. So why don't I just wait to see what your informal conversation produces, and then if you could let the clerk know either that there's going to be no objection or that you want the court to come out and address something before tomorrow morning. Just looking ahead to next week, where we're going to not have a session on Monday for various scheduling issues, I would have a full day on Wednesday, so we're not losing too much time. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.